Hello YouTube, I'm Andrew Does Hair. You can find my work on Instagram at Andrew Does Hair. Today we're going to do a haircut called a flat top boogie, or a flat top with fenders. To begin, I want to take a section straight down the middle of the head and cut it, you guessed it, flat. I'm going to then take that middle strip of hair and use it as a guide to continue cutting the outside of the hair square, flat to the ground. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. What you're going to find with this haircut and the process of really most haircuts is it's like reduction sculpting. You take off big pieces and you take off smaller and smaller pieces as you refine. On the sides here, I want to comb the hair roughly into the direction that I want to style it, and I'm going to begin taking sections in that direction, pulling them out straight off the ground using the previous section as a guide, and just trimming them essentially just long enough to bend and lay back. The end result should be roughly kind of a square shape when it meets the hair at the top. Now, normally I would work from the front to the back of the head instead of kind of doing the front on both sides and then going to the back later as I'm doing here. But with this particular mannequin head, I knew that I don't even know who cut it before or what they did to it, but I knew that the back was crooked. And so I didn't know what kind of length I would have back here. And I decided to just kind of like leave it alone for a minute, come to it later and figure it out. So even at this point, as I'm cutting the back, I'm finding really short pieces like right here where I'm just like, oh, that's too short. That's not going to work. But I still take the time near the occipital bone to make sure the shape is really good, because even if I do wind up doing a taper, which I'm going to do, I want to make sure that this area up here for the sort of DA or duck ass is going to be really nicely shaped. And so to do that, I'm doing the same thing I did in the front, pulling the hair straight off the head, parallel to the floor, cutting it one length front to back, using the previous section as a guide. Now, before I get to the back, I want to blow dry the hair. When it comes to details like the sideburn and like fine tuning the shape of the haircut, this is all so much easier to do after the hair has been blow dried. So essentially, I'm going to style it. I'm going to blow dry it in the direction I want it to be styled. And as with basically all the styling you'll see me do on my channel, the first step is a rough dry. So this is high heat and high power. I'm moving the hair a lot as I kind of push it where I want it to go. I find that the more I move the hair while I'm drying it, the more nicely it continues to move, to where if I just blow dry it immediately directly where I want it, it can tend to look kind of wiggy, and sometimes you can't like overpower the cowlicks in the same way as if you wiggle the hair while you're rough drying it. Then I pick up a brush here, and with the added tension of the brush, I'm able to more precisely fine tune the style. That added tension is going to make the hair a whole lot smoother. It's going to make it lay a whole lot flatter. And essentially, you know, what it comes down to is more tension is more smooth. I don't start drying with a brush because it takes longer to get the hair dry. And basically, like, think of the bristles on your brush like sandpaper. The bigger the bristles are, the more kind of coarse the finish will be. And the finer the bristles are, the more smooth and polished the finish will be. But you don't want to start with fine bristles for the same reason you don't want to start sanding with 2000 grit sandpaper. You want to work your way through tighter and tighter bristles until you get the level of polish you want. So now that everything's roughly standing and laying where I want it to, I can go in and refine with a bit of scissor over comb. Now, when I'm scissor over combing something really sort of precise like this, I don't move the scissors from my wrist, or even I try not to move it from my elbow even. I kind of lock in my wrists and elbows, and then maybe I'm moving at my shoulders, but mostly like I feel like I'm moving from my hips and my feet. Like you get your body kind of locked in, and you make big, broad movements from your toes up without wiggling your wrists or your shoulders or your elbows much. It's a lot easier to get bigger, smoother shapes that way. And so here, once I'm just barely fine-tuning and refining, I'm even going to ditch the comb at times, because like the less hair I'm taking off, the less tension I'm going to need to cut the hair. And since it's all blow dried right where I want it, I don't need to move it from where it's sitting in order to sculpt it. So this refining here, like I could do this for freaking ever. And when you see some of these haircuts that are absolutely amazing and immaculate, for the most part, most of the time, you better believe they were sitting there refining for an hour. I wish I had the time to sit and refine this even further. I got it pretty good. I hope I'm my own worst critic, because, you know, there's worse critics out there on YouTube, but this could have been done maybe even a little more perfect, but I'm very happy with it. What I just talked over right there was the sideburns. I like to detail sideburns after the hair is blow dried. In this case, I left them a little bit longer. I didn't fully taper them as I'm going to taper the back. I don't know, something about like a heavier sideburn with a taper in the back to me looks kind of old school. As I begin my taper, I want to start with clipper over comb to take down some bulk so I have less hair to work with. And I'm essentially kind of like sculpting the top of the taper where it's going to meet the DA. Once I have that sculpted in there, I can go back to the bottom and start tapering up. So I started with the clipper open with no guard. And once I roughed out a shape there, I closed the clipper and started taking out material from the bottom. And as I moved upward, I opened the clipper slowly until eventually the lines were, for the most part, blended out. This is a one guard here. I'm starting with it open, and I'm almost bringing it all the way up to the shape that I created with clipper over comb, but not quite to the end point there. I'm going to go back and connect those dots with, again, clipper over comb. When you're tapering or fading hair, it's I think of it a lot like connecting the dots. You put in a guide and then you put in another guide and then you just connect the dots between the two. So now I want to give the hair a quick blow dry, kind of like a wind tunnel test, push it all around, make sure nothing jumps out. And once I've done that, I want to go back and just refine the blow dry and get it a little bit more styled, looking for any little inconsistencies that I think I can fix. And I think in 1 second here, I find one somewhere over on the right side. Yeah, right up on that corner there. I was like, oh, that's not right. So here I just kind of knock some of it off and take a couple little passes there. Sometimes even like for a photo shoot, you would even continue trimming the hair after you put product in it and styled it. Like once you have it sitting in its final resting place for the photo, then you go back and cut it. That's sometimes how you'll see these like over the top crazy immaculate shapes. So for product, I reach for 80H wet because, you know, in a case like this, it can absolutely work like a pomade. And as I grabbed the comb to start refining this style, I realized that I don't comb a lot of hair these days. Like most of the styles people are requesting are very not combed looking. I really don't remember the last time I sat and perfectly combed hair into place like this. It was a lot of fun, sort of sculpting. So in the back here, to get that kind of DA look, what you'll want to do is take the left side and the right side and brush them in toward the middle, comb them in toward the middle, and then you take the tip of the comb and comb the middle down. So there's the DA there. But that's our finished product. It's a flat top with fenders, or a flat top boogie, I believe it's called. Again, I don't think I've ever even had the opportunity to do one of these on a real person, but hey, I'd like to. You know, if you rock this style, hit me up. I'm in Nashville. Thanks for watching.